Okay, so let's go over the fact that hairstyles are actually ancestral antennas that are passed down from generation to generation. And, there's hairstyles basically are considered sacred because your hair is an antenna that attracts energies from the spirit world, and it connects you in with your ancestors. Okay, and so when you're out here wearing hairstyles that you don't have any ancestral ties with, like for instance, if you're wearing dreadlocks, but you're not really tied in to the Caribbean or Rastafarian religions where dreadlocks originally came from, or are mostly worn in the Caribbean, because that was an actual gift given to people from the Caribbean from the water gods. So if you don't really have any ancestral ties with people from the Caribbean, and we're talking about black people, then it's probably not a good idea for you to wear those hairstyles, because they actually act as an antenna and they draw in energies from different realms that are connected into ancestral land and ancestral bloodlines. Okay, so like black men here in the United States shouldn't really be wearing dreadlocks unless you have went over to the Caribbean and made peace with the land over there, okay, the ancestral land over there and the ancestors over there, okay, because that's dreadlocks are considered a sacred hairstyle, and that's why you see so many people in the Caribbean wearing dreadlocks, because it's a hairstyle that connects them in, that was given to them, specifically given to them from the water gods, and it ties them in to ancestral ties with their gods. Okay, they might not agree with what I'm saying, but I actually know the ancestral history about that. Okay, so over here, I've noticed here in the United States, we have a lot of black Americans running around wearing dreadlocks. That can be problematic, because even though you are black, and people from Jamaica and Belize and the Virgin Islands and the Bermuda, certain islands in the Bahamas and the Caribbean, just because you're black does not tie you in with their ancestors. They have different ties with the land, water spirits, okay? They have certain ancestral ties that are tied in with the land that is surrounded by water, okay? So they have a certain gift that they're given by their gods, okay? The gift of reggae, the gift of dreadlocks, the gift of how to season their foods a certain way so that they can make revenue off of their food, the gift of an accent, also given to them by their gods, okay? And so there are certain gifts that each tribe has that was given to them by their forefathers and their foremothers, and those are gifts that Black Americans aren't really supposed to have, because we over here have our gods that, our ancestral ties and our ancestral spirits, to where we have certain gifts that we were given, like the gift of music, the gift of, athletes, athletic ability, the gift of being very attractive, so that you can attract women from all over the world and some men from all over the world. Black women are given a certain gift to be able to have very attractive children that are desired all over the world, and that, and so African Americans are given certain gifts. We've been given the gifts of how to braid hair from African ancestral ties, how to do twists, how to do hairstyles that connect us in with the continent of Africa. Okay, and so dreadlocks are really supposed to be for the people from the Caribbean. Now, if you got blood ties with the Caribbean, like in my case, if I wanted to wear dreadlocks, my father is actually from the Caribbean. Okay, and so if I wanted to wear them, I could do that, because I am automatically tied in to those people over there by my bloodline. Okay, and so I could actually do that if I wanted to, and not draw in evil spirits that, have not given me permission to wear those styles over there that they wear. Okay, so I could actually do something like that. If you have blood ties with them, then you can do that. Okay, or if you've been over there and you've lived over there for a certain amount of time and you've connected in with them on a spiritual level, then you can do that. Okay, but if you haven't, if you're just wearing it as like just a hairstyle, just because you know that you can, because you know that your hair will lock, well, then be prepared to face some of the curses that will be placed upon you, because you don't have a spiritual connection with water spirits. You don't have a spiritual connection with the land over in those islands. And so you're drawing in entities that are not really connecting with you, and it can bring you bad luck. In some cases it may not, but in many cases it does. Okay, because you don't really have permission from their ancestors over in those islands to wear those hairstyles. Hairstyles are very sacred, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand. Okay, this is why, there's a lot of black women that might get upset if they see white girls running around with braided plaits all over their hair, because they don't really have, white people don't really have a good ancestral history, especially here in the United States. with our ancestors. So for them to be walking around wearing cornrows, wearing plaits and French braids, they can wear French braids, but not really cornrows. They're not given permission by our ancestors to do that, okay? And so it might bring them bad luck. It might take their hair out. It might damage their hair, okay? Because they're drawing in spirits from the spirit world that don't approve of them wearing those sacred hairstyles, okay? Hairstyles are antennas that connect you in with the spirit world to your ancestors, okay? And if you have a bad history with people, you're not given permission to wear those hairstyles. These are just the facts, okay? And if you're going to sit here and say, oh, well, black women run around wearing wigs on their heads, straight wigs that mimic European hairstyles, okay, well, here's the situation with what's going on with that. One thing that I have noticed is that when I'm watching a lot of these crime stories on the internet, a lot of these relationships that black women are getting into with black men, I have noticed a lot of these girls are wearing these long European looking hairstyles. And I don't really think it's so much the hair itself, but I think it's more or less the hairstyles that these girls are wearing, that these wigs come in, that are very popular in European communities, like here in the United States and in Europe and in other European continents. I've noticed a lot of these girls are getting murdered by their significant other, okay? A lot of the times these are just they are not married to these men, and so they're getting into these relationships with these men, and they're unalived. And I've noticed that their hair a lot of the times mimics hairstyles that are worn by European women, okay? And again, we don't have a very good history with European women at any level. And so wearing their hairstyles can be a curse to black women if you don't really like them, or if you're not really bloodline connected to them, then you're probably not given permission to wear their hairstyles either. And it can bring you bad luck. It just depends on the ancestors, okay? You'll hear a lot of black men walking around talking about how they don't like when black women wear wigs, okay? What they're actually saying is it looks out of place for you to be wearing European hairstyles on your head, okay? Even though there are some black women that have blood ties with Native Americans. Some of them have blood ties with Europe. It depends on how much of that blood is running through your veins, okay? If you're at least a quarter white or more, maybe I would say probably 20% connected in with European blood ties, 20% or more, then, and you have a pretty good relationship with white people, then those hairstyles may not spiritually affect you. But if you're like 15% bloodline connected in with Europe, and you don't really spiritually get along with them, then those hairstyles could be cursing you, okay? Because again, I just said, a lot of the times when I'm watching these crime shows where a lot of these black women are being murdered, or they're being unalived by their significant other, I've noticed that they're wearing a lot of these long wigs, and like I said, I don't think it's the wig itself. I think it's the actual hairstyle that they're wearing, okay? So, like, let's just say if they put a wig on their hair and it was braided, but it's still the hair from Indian people, then that's probably not going to be a curse, okay? Or if you were wearing hairstyles that are connected in with India, a lot of them don't really wear their hair curled that much. So some of them wear their hair like bone straight, or that may not be a problem because we don't really have a bad history with India, okay? And in some instances, we share the same gods with them, okay? Because Krishna was black. So if you're wearing the hair of a Dravidian Indian, then that's probably not going to harm you. But if you're wearing the hairstyle of a European, that may bring bad luck. I'm not saying in all cases, but in some cases it can bring bad luck, okay? So be very, very careful with that. Even though the hair that you're wearing is from the Indian nation, okay, and they are spiritual related, the Dravidians are spiritually related to the black race by bloodline, and through Eastern Africa from hundreds of thousands of years ago. The hair itself may not be a curse, but certain hairstyles may be, okay? So be very careful with that. It might be a good idea to have those wigs blessed by a priest or by a monk before you wear them, or by someone a priestess within the black community can bless them as well. And so that can bring protection to ward off any type of evil that may be attracted to that hairstyle antenna, okay? I've noticed a lot of white girls that walk around wearing black hairstyles that are intended for black women, and these girls are dating black men. I've noticed a lot of the times those relationships don't work out, okay? Because again, you're trying to mimic a race of women that you typically don't get along with. You're taking the men out of their community. You don't like the women, but you're taking their men out of their community and then trying to become them by wearing their hairstyles, speaking their language that was meant for them, called Ebonics, okay, speaking in their black sense, okay, wearing your clothes the way they wear their clothes. All that can bring curses upon you because you're trying to become something that you're not, and you're drawing in spirits from their worlds in the spirit world that don't typically connect with you. Okay. And so if you're trying to cosplay African American women and you're walking around wearing their hairstyles and trying to speak Ebonics and dressing like them and all that type of stuff that a lot of white girls are out here doing, a lot of the times, if you've noticed, those relationships don't work out because they're drawing in spirits from the black ancestral world that don't really agree with what they're doing. Okay. And so 9 times out of 10, those relationships that they're getting into with black men are not going to work out. Okay. A message to white women out there: if you're into black men, that's fine. Date who you want to date, but don't ever try to become a black woman by dressing like them, wearing their hairstyles, trying to talk like them, basically trying to cosplay them, because you will be drawing in spirits that are not connecting with you, and they will take that man right out of your life. Okay? And a lot of the times you may end up unalived. And so this is a message that I want to get out to the world. Be very careful with how you try to walk around here mimicking other people. If you don't have the blessings of those people and their ancestral, and their ancestors, if you don't have their blessings, don't try to wear their shit, because it can curse you if you're not careful. It can bring a lot of curses upon you. Okay, know what you're doing, know what you're getting into. Just understand that if you're trying to become one with all, you have to respect the ancestors while you're doing that. Okay? And let's see. And so it's probably not a good idea for white males to walk around with dreadlocks, because that's not connected in with them at all. It's probably not a good idea for people that are not connected in with the continent of Africa. And I'm talking black people from Africa. If you're not bloodline related to Africa, don't wear their hairstyles. Okay, it's just not, it's inappropriate, and it's not wise on a spiritual level to do that, because you could be drawing in demonic spirits from their world, from their part of the spirit world, that don't necessarily agree with you, and they can and will attack you. Okay? And that's pretty much all I want to say about that. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.